My name is Keith Berns, and along with my brother Brian, we farm a couple thousand acres here in Bladen, Nebraska, and also own and operate green cover seed. This agronomy update is brought to you by the Nebraska Soybean Board. So in the fields that we see in our own fields and with our customers, things are off to a good start. We've had some decent moisture, some good heat units, and so things are really taking off. So now is the time to be planning ahead and be thinking about what you might want to do for either right before harvest or right after harvest if you're thinking about a cover crop. So people might use cover crops for a variety of different reasons. One of the first reasons that we started using them is to prevent erosion. We just needed something covering the soil to prevent that soil from washing away or blowing away. The prevention of spring weeds, especially mare's tail. We can grow hundreds of units of nitrogen with when we have legumes in that cover crop mix. And the living roots of the cover crops will help feed the biology that you have. It expands those populations. So the biological benefits of cover crops are probably one of the main reasons we continue to use them. So what do I plant after corn going to soybeans? And the answer to that is cereal rye. It's not that expensive. It grows really well. It germinates in 34-degree soil, so you can plant it late. And the ability of it to get going in the spring, it will flat out compete all of the winter annual weeds. Cereal rye has virtually eliminated 99% of the mare's tail because it just outcompetes it. And it's really a great system because it sequesters the nitrogen out of the soil. And that's a good thing ahead of soybeans because it forces those beans to nodulate early and often. And as that rye decomposes, then you get a little bit of nitrogen release later in the summer where you can get that little extra yield boost in August. So after soybeans and going to corn, it's a little more difficult, primarily because we really have to be concerned about nutrient tie-up. So you can use cereal rye ahead of corn. You just have to manage it really well, particularly the timing of your nitrogen application and the timing of the termination of that cover crop. If you have a field where you really want that nitrogen kick and you're willing to delay your planting, maybe it's the last field of corn that you plant, fall planted hairy vetch can be a really good option ahead of corn. And then of course it can be mixed. We like a little bit of rye or winter barley or even triticale to give a balanced approach to not just having a legume, but having a legume and a grass out there in the field. The same cover crops will really work in all of the regions, but the timing and the management of how and when you use them, that's what's going to change. We handle our dryland acres completely different than our irrigated acres because we know we can let the cover crops grow longer under irrigation because we can replace some of that moisture. Under dry land, we tend to be ready to terminate those earlier if it looks like it's going to be a dry spring. And I always encourage people to if you're doing this on a field, leave at least one strip in that field where you don't put the rye, so you have a real true side-by-side comparison. And that's probably the biggest thing as a farmer that we need to do is we need to be really observant students of the soil and be looking at what are these different practices doing for our soil. Thanks for watching this week's Agronomy Update brought to you by the Nebraska Soybean Board.